participants so far. And so we hope more will join. But to those of you who are on time, thank you for joining us, and thank you for taking the time out to register for the session. It is the first session or activity for the branch in a very long time, so we are very happy that you have taken the time out to join us. It is going to be an interesting conversation this morning, and we will be looking at the professional body for the South African LIS sector and what it means and how it affects you as the LIASA member. And I also want to just convey my thanks to the colleagues in the National Office for allowing us to meet on this platform. Thank you so much. And then I'm just checking to see who else is here. Thank you. I'm seeing Saviwe, you here already? Yes, I see Saviwe is online. So yes. Thank you, Saviwe. Thank you so much. Colleagues, the session is going to be very interesting. Saviwe and myself will be speaking to you, so you'll hear the different voices. And then, of course, we have a wonderful speaker this morning that I'm very excited to hear and to listen to what is being shared with us this morning. So a huge thank you once again and a warm welcome. And I will reiterate the warmth because it is extremely cold everywhere in the country. I've seen on social media yesterday there has been snow in Gauteng. So it's very cold, but again, thank you and a warm welcome. So colleagues, you know, as a LIASA member, I have literally grown up, you know, in LIASA, so to speak. And with the dawn of the professional body within LIASA, you know, I always wondered, now, what does this actually mean for me? And having a family member who is in the health profession, who has to, you know, basically register every year with the Health Professional Council, I got to learn, you know, how important it is for that particular family member to be able to practice, you know, with proof that she is registered with the professional body. And that took me thinking and made me think about, so how come LIASA can't do that, or how come we can't have that with LIASA? And at the time when the process was going with SACWA, I don't know if any of you can remember, it's quite a few years ago now, when SACWA was busy, you know, getting us the professional body status. They wanted comments on certain information, and I commented there, and I said, I'd like LIASA to become a professional body as any other professional body to any other profession in the world, in the country, and that to be a profession where I can be proud as a librarian to say, but I belong to a professional body, and I can be proud to say that, you know, it's not just anybody and anything. It is the professional body for our sector. And so as the time, you know, moved along, it became quite interesting to see how we have developed as an organization. And to the extent now that we have the professional designation, librarian, that has been granted to us. So today, I'm sure our guest speaker will allude to more of this. But I want to encourage all of you today, if there are colleagues in the workplace who does not have LIASA membership, please encourage them to join. Please encourage them, to participate in everything and anything that is available, because this organization can take you to greater heights. You can learn so much from this organization. With that said, colleagues, I can go on and on, but we do have a wonderful program. So with that said, I am now going to hand over to Saviwe. He is the Western Cape branch chair-elect, and Saviwe will introduce our guest speaker, and then I will speak to you again at the end of the session. But sit back, relax, and enjoy, and have a wonderful time with us. Thank you. Saviwe, over to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Pronin, the chairperson of the Western Cape branch of LIASA. Colleagues, really, mine is to just introduce Ntate Molepo, whom we all know. So I will really not be long. I did ask for a short bio from him. I did have my own thing written, Ntate Molepo, but I say you've now sent it. He is a professional librarian, teacher, and assessor. And he is currently the deputy director at the University of Free State Library, responsible for research and scholarly communications. And he's been in this position since 2015. He also represents non-academic staff at the University Council. We all know that the council, being the highest decision-making body in any university, it's like your board in the sense of the private sector. And he also serves on its Finance and Human Resources Committee. Before joining the University of the Free State, he worked at Vista University. We all know, Vista was one of those institutions that, were merged in various, their campuses merged in various universities now. There was a campus Northwest University, there's one Nelson Mandela University, etc., etc. And Natal University's Campbell Collections, University of Johannesburg, Universal Knowledge Software, University of KZN Libraries, and Dawson Books as the International Account Director for Africa. He also served on the following governance structures that is in his career. This is Vista University Council, ETDP CETA, board member from 2000 until 2004, and in 2020 to 2012. And then he was a member and chair of SAQA standard generating body, that Library and Information Services is called SGB-LIS, that's from 2002 to 2010. He served as the president of the Union of Democratic University Staff Associations for 3 to 2-year terms. And currently, of course, he's the president-elect of LIASA. Mr. Molepo will speak to us for an hour, that is maximum. Thereafter, we'll open the floor for members to engage with him on LIASA issues. Although the focus of his talk will really be on the issue of professional body, he will also be open to engage on other LIASA issues. So when we come to the questions, I'll really just open the questions, for any matter or anything, that members want to ask Ntate Molepo that has something to do with LIASA. So Ntate Molepo, I did see that you joined us, so I'll just hand over to you so that you can speak to your membership. Thank you. Or in any case, colleagues, I did say that he will speak for an hour, and then of course we'll just open for question and answer session, which I will facilitate, and then thereafter it will be a vote of thanks. Thanks, Ntate Molepo.
Thank you, Chair-elect of the Western Cape branch. Thank you, colleagues, for the invite. Can you please confirm if you can see my presentation?
Yes, certainly. Thank you.
Okay. Colleagues, I thought it would be better for me just to share with you few things, fewer, so that I allowed more time to engage, because the topic I'm going to dwell on, it's quite topical now, and there's a lot of uncertainty in the membership because this process has been going on for some time. So I thought it will be advisable for me to speak a little, but allow the engagement more, because that is very important now, because we are at the transition stage. So broadly, this is the normal slide that I normally share with people, colleagues and who are members of LIASA and those that are not members of LIASA, because at times we tend to forget who we are and what we stand for. If it was 2014, this statement would read differently. The statement, if it was in 2014, the statement would read: the Library and Information Association of South Africa, it's a voluntary staff association. That's how it would read in 2014. Now it's 2023, after LIASA was recognized as a professional body in 2015. That's why it reads now that LIASA is a SAQA recognized professional body for the library and information related sectors. This is a very important statement. And obviously what follows next is just a history relating to this, that led to this special day that we celebrated yesterday of the South African Librarians Day, because that's a day this organization was launched in Pretoria in 1997. And so now, what do we actually mean when we say LIASA? It's a professional body for library and information science. This is a body that has been recognized by SAQA to be responsible for professionalization of the services that is offered by library and information services. So it is a body that has been accredited to make sure that people who are people who are practicing in this profession who require a particular designation, this is the body that is responsible for taking care of that designation. So currently, as an association, we have one designation called professional librarian. And you might have heard over time from the presidency of Sikhametsi and the presidents of Mandla and later presidency of Nikki, that we were looking at also getting additional designation. Amongst those that were mentioned was the library practitioner and the one for library assistant. I would, during my presentation, I would just take you through why are we still here only having one designation. But at the same time, I'm also going to share with you what we need to do for some of the additional designation and what is the requirement in relation to SAQA. Right. So now, the SAQA has released in January 2023 a new policy and criteria on the recognizing of professional body and registering of professional designation for the purpose of the National Qualification Framework. The Act it's 67 of 2008, but now these policy guidelines are for 2023. These are the latest. So, as I indicated earlier on, we were accredited in 2015 for 5 years, and we were then re-accredited. The next phase of re-accreditation is 2024. So what they then last year we had what we call in the beginning of this year we had to what is called midterm review, where they now said, LIASA, we recognized you in the past. Now we are in the midterm of reviewing you if you still comply with the requirements. But now, in addition to the old requirements, we've got new requirements. That is for 2023. And then we were then, they visited the office in November. They look at our infrastructure, they look at our human resources, they look at our policy documents, they look at governance. And amongst the things that came out clear from them is that, one, we don't have a transformation policy, and we need to. So we didn't, in terms of compliance, we are found short in terms of, but what they did pick up is that our constitution address imperatives of transformation. And in terms of our staff complement, it also reflects the transformation agenda of the country. So because of that, it was viewed favorably in our favor. However, it was clear that it was indicated that we need to submit as part of going forward for 2024 review. We need to submit the transformation policy. We need to develop and submit the transformation policy. Fortunately, through the hard work of both EXCO and REPCO, we managed to draft, update the current documents that were existing, draft a new policy, and it was submitted with all the documents that SAQA required in. But this document is very important, colleagues, and I will share with your chair-elect this document so that you can look. It's not a lengthy document. It's approximately about, if I'm not mistaken, about 17 pages. If I'm not mistaken, it's about 17 pages. So you can quickly look at it and go through it, and then you can see that some of the issues raised here that I'm talking to. I'm sorry, there's an email that came through now. It's blocking my system. So one of the most important things in relation to this, policy, what I want to share with you is that as the association is required to have the necessary human resource capacity to undertake its functions, which is separate from the board, except for the executive members. So what this requirement says is that LIASA needs to have human resource capacity in the office. Other than that, the LIASA also needs to have a board, and but the capacity of the office can only be supplemented by the executive committee members. not the board. So meaning that LIASA as a professional body should have a structure that is fully functional. It should have an office. It should have the human resource capacity, and that human resource capacity should be such that it's sufficient to run the office without the assistance of the board. But the only people that can assist in the day-to-day running is the executive of the board. So that's why that accept executive members. So it's the human resource of the office plus the executive members. Those are the people who would be able to, when SAQA review, that is the capacity they'll be looking at. They'll be saying, do you have the human resource? How many people who are doing what work? And obviously, when you count them, you can count them, those people plus the executive committee of the board, but not the board. The board is not involved in the day-to-day running. So there are about 18 requirements. Maybe if I may quickly just show you them in the document, if I can go through the document. They go up to K, from A to K. So the first one, that it should be a legal entity, which we tick the box where NPO. There is a constitution, which is B. 3, the one that we lacked, it was the transformation policy. Now we have it. D, have the necessary human resource capacity. That's one that I was speaking to, and the board. Currently, we don't have, but we are working towards that, which is the reason why I'm here today, also just to give you an idea, where are we? E, to have access to adequate premises and facilities, which we have at the LIASA house. However, we just need to tie up the relationship with an NSA, have the necessary financial resources to undertake its function. So meaning that we need to, and in that, they also ask us to see a 3-year financial statement. So now, as we are going to review, they would go back and see, can you see the 3-year audited financial statement? Lastly, age, we must be able to award the professional designation and not unfairly discriminate against individuals based on race, gender, sex, pregnancy, marital status, ethnic, social, and all other biases that could exist. So they mentioned that you cannot exclude people because of that. And then you should have a policy that guides in terms of how do we develop, how do we award, and how do we monitor, and how do we revoke our professional designation. In the previous document that we submitted to SAQA, we did not include I, which is, we didn't have a clause that to say, how do we revoke the professional designation? Now they wanted us to show that, and then how do we award them, how are we going? And then the other document that we are still working on is the RPL policy. And then obviously the policy around POP Act. And so those are all the requirements. So when they review us next year, those are the key issues that they'll be looking at and appraising us on them. So now, those that are still outstanding from our side is the establishment of the board and its executive, and then 2, it's just to agree on the final RPL policy. So now, come to the important part. So this has been going on for the last 2 presidencies, when the decision was taken in Durban to restructure LIASA in line with the SAQA requirements. So now what you have on your screen, it's the proposed structure. Western Cape, we are privileged. It's still a working document. It's with the attorneys, and it's still going to consultation. So please, colleagues, I'm just sharing you So it's something that the president will be sharing with you, but I'm just giving you an idea of the structure, how the structure we intend to look like. I would not get into the details in terms of the processes that would follow. That will be communicated via the correct channels. But what I'm trying to do is to share with members where we are and what we are currently doing. So like it was, that is always been established. Shareholders or members of an organization, they are the highest decision-making body, which is the AGM. As you can see, the AGM is called, it's called AGM because it means only annual. So it means once a month. So in line with SAQA requirements, we then have that board. And within the board would then have subcommittees. The first subcommittee of the board that would oversee the day-to-day running of the association, it's called an EXCO. The judging, depending on the discussions or that going forward, the members will decide on the composition of EXCO from the board. But ideally, the EXCO should not be more than 4 members. Ideally, it might be 3. The recommendation that probably EXCO would put forward is that it should be the 3. So if you look at the structure, because this is a structure, this is the executive that is going to oversee day-to-day running. So they need to meet from time to time to expedite issues in between the boards. So the EXCO is responsible for day-to-day running, and it meets often as it's required before the board meetings. And then they go back and report to the board. And the board takes the decisions in between the AGMs. So each structure is working on what we call delegated authority. The authority belongs to members. The members delegate their authority to the board to take certain decisions. And the board will decide that it can delegate certain authority to EXCO to see the day-to-day running. But for decision to be made, it must go back to the board. And for some decision to be made that affects the association, it must go back to the AGM, which is the. So that is the first committee, is the EXCO. Ideally, it should be composed of 3 members, but it may be 4. So meaning that in this current structure, it might be the president-elect, and an elected board member that is going to come from the board. Then with the first subcommittee, remember, LIASA now operates because all boards in South Africa need to comply with what we call King 4, good corporate governance. So as a board, LIASA board will also comply with King 4 principles. And these are statutory subcommittee. The finance, audit, and risk. We are a relatively small organization. Once LIASA becomes bigger as we grow, this one committee will break into 2. There'll be one that is called finance committee that is going to be responsible strictly to oversee the finance of the organization. And then the other one is audit and risk committee. Audit and risk committee is a committee that oversees good financial controls and identify potential risk. And then oversee that the EXCO and the office are making sure that they comply with best practices. They also put in mitigating factors to lower the risk that you could have identified, right? So that is the responsibility of this committee. So for now, because we are starting, we are going to keep them together, the finance and audit. So they'll oversee the finance of the university, and also this is the finance committee that is going to approve the budget, and then the audit and risk, and then monitor the implementation of the budget. And then the audit committee, as part of their audit mandate, they would also. So this committee is going to be chaired by a chartered accountant. So what we would do, I would explain when we come to the board. How are we going to get hold of a chartered accountant? The second subcommittee of the board, it will be what we call CPD. All these committees will be chaired by a board member. So all these subcommittees I'm going to mention, they will all be chaired by a board member. But the committee members would come from the membership. So the main person who's chairing the committee, it will be a board member, because he needs to go back to the board and say, this is what was discussed on the CPD committee. But the CPD committee itself, it will be composed by a number of experts from the membership. So this committee is the one that is going to be responsible for accrediting programs, that continuing professional development programs, accrediting training providers, and also overseeing the allocation of CPD points to designated to colleagues who are applying for who want to retain their designation. Remember, currently we've got one designation, which is professional librarian. So the professional librarian, one needs 20 CPD points over a period of 3 years to retain the status of being a professional librarian. So this committee is the one that is going to be responsible. So some of the activities that are run through LIASA, their CPD points allocation will be automatic, because the office will be arranging that. But there are those trainings or skills development that you do it at your workplace or on your own. You need then to apply to have it to be you need to apply to have points, CPD points allocated to you. This committee is the one that will review those. So it's going to meet more often than most committees, because they'll be responsible for approving. So they might meet on monthly basis, because remember, everyone would apply for the month of July. And then at a particular month in July, this committee will meet and then approve those CPD points. And then the second subcommittee is the professional body. This committee is the one that is going to ensure that LIASA complies with the policies in terms of policy and requirements of SAQA. This is the one that is going to be responsible for running of the accreditation process. It's the one that is going to be evaluating, submitting documents in relation to this. So when there is a review, this is the committee that will be the one handling all the contact with SAQA. And then the next committee is the nomination committee. Right, the nomination committee, this is a completely, it's a board committee. This is a committee that is gonna review all nominations of people that are going to serve in subcommittees and on the board. I'll explain later when we speak about the board. So for instance, now we've got a CPD committee chaired by the board, and then we would then issue out a call to say, can you please nominate someone to serve on the CPD committee? These are the criteria. We'll mention the criteria. And then we'll receive a number of nominations. Let's say if we require 8 members, right? You've got about 16. This nomination committee will then go through the nomination and then identify which 8 would fulfill that position. The same for the board. So the nomination committee is the committee that is responsible for identifying people that needs to be co-opted into the board or into the subcommittees. And then I've used this one as an example because there was already a request from this body to have a subcommittee that advises the board on the bibliographic standard. Currently, we've got an interest group called IGBIS. So that group, that interest group, it's one such. In IFLA, these are groups that are called advisory committees of the board. So at LIASA, the name that is currently proposed, which needs to be adopted, we just felt it's better to call them subcommittees instead of calling them advisory committees. But that's another subcommittee of the board that is gonna. So these subcommittees, this one is not a direct subcommittee of the board, but it's those subcommittees. We would have one subcommittee, maybe one main advisory committee. And all the chairs of the sub will come together and form that one main one. I hope, okay. I thought I was losing, we're load shedding. I saw my network is becoming unstable. So let me make
we lost you for a few minutes. I think that was, in fact, seconds, maybe just 20 seconds or so, but we didn't lose you that much. Yeah, you can continue.
Okay. So where currently I've written bibliographic standard, you can just say, we can view it as a subcommittee that will be underneath these subcommittees. So there'll be one main subcommittee that is going to be formed by the chairs of the advisory committees. There might be a committee of practice for bibliographic standard. There might be a committee of practice for Wikimedia. There might be a committee of practice of research data. So these advisory committees, all of them underneath their chair, will then sit on this main subcommittee where I've written bibliographic standard here, but it will be just advisory subcommittee. So these are the people who then advise the board on to say, here is an ethics issue on bibliographic standard. We want LIASA to have a CPD program to train a metadata specialist on this new. So to see how they would advise the board. So that is just one subcommittee. Otherwise, if you will keep them in the same line, it will be a long line, but they will be just below that, and the chairs of these subcommittees will just form one of the main advisory body of the subcommittee. Right. So that is the structure that is still on the table. Currently, I was hoping that the attorneys would have come back to us last week, Friday, and then we were supposed to have a meeting with the committee that has been mandated by REPCO to consolidate this proposal. Unfortunately, the attorneys only promised to come back today, and I felt like, look, this is just a discussion document. It's not cut in stone. We're still it's going to be shared with members for their input via the REPCO. Later, the REPCO intends to have what we call multi-stakeholder briefing, where all stakeholders from the sector we would be brought into one place, go through the document, and then from there, we might have a special general meeting for all members to present them this whatever would have come out. So this one is just a progress report of where we are as LIASA, EBSCO, and REPCO. This is the structure that we're proposing. So now, coming to the board, because one of the critical questions that was asked by members is that what would the board look like? Currently, the proposal on the table is that we would have a sector. So we would have the 2 positions that are elected nationally. Actually 1, but there are 2 because it's positions now. It's the president and the president-elect. That position, because you elect the president-elect at the national ballot. So it's the only position that will be elected by all members, all of them using one nomination, one ballot box, ballot paper. So that's the only position that is elected nationally by all members. The other board members will represent specific sectors. So public librarians will elect 1 public librarian to sit on the board. Academic librarians will elect 1 academic librarian to sit on the board. Special libraries will elect 1 to sit on the board. School libraries, 1. Which one did I skip? Public, academic, special, school. I think there are 5 all in all. Then we then have the office manager, which is an ex officio of the board. And then we've got 5 members elected based on their skills. So what's going to happen, then there will be a call out that is going to go out to communication channels. For instance, it can go out to LinkedIn and other, and on the LIASA newsletter, LIASA website, calling for nomination for specific people. The one of the chartered accountant, it will be an advert. It will go out as an advert for a chartered accountant who will do a pro bono chair of Finance and Audit and Risk Committee. That is the responsibility. That would be the responsibility of the chartered accountant. Pro bono, meaning that doing it for free, by gaining experience in chairing Audit and Risk Committee, and that person would then be the chair of the Audit Committee. And the other members, 5 members, the board by that time, remember now, after the election, we would know that, okay, Charlie has expertise in human resource. Siviwe has expertise in ICT. So then they would say, okay, what are we running short of? They would say, okay, we need somebody with finance management. We need somebody with who's an academic, who understands curriculum design, who's gonna guide the board when we look at accreditation. We need somebody. So when the call go out to the membership to call for nomination, we would indicate what skills we require. And then therefore, then members would then nominate people to serve on those, will nominate people then to based on those skills. You would remember, this is something similar to what we see when they need a board member for National Library or a member for NCLIS. It will be like that. We would mention the skills we want, it will go out, and then anyone can nominate, right? Then going forward in the next board, the nomination committee then would then sit down and based on the nomination that have come through, identify who are the people who would be co-opted into the board. We might, for this new board, we might have to discuss to look at an interim measure. So we might set up an interim nomination committee. We might identify amongst us general members, those members who can assist with the nomination process of filling the other 5 vacancies, excluding the one of the CA. The CA one, it's an advert, only chartered accountant would apply, and it will be, we obviously would conduct the interviews and identify one that will be able to sit as the head of the finance and audit and risk. So that is the structure of the board. Currently, we're looking at 13 members. We're looking at 13 members who constitute the board, but obviously it's at an initial stage, draft stage. So when it comes to the members and the members make comments and the broader stakeholder, we were hoping to have a broader stakeholder now in July. We are just kept, now we are delayed by the attorneys, but be that as it may, hopefully it may still happen, where we'll bring in all stakeholders. We'll bring in the vendors who normally work in our industry. We'll bring in LIASA, we'll bring in the directors of provincial library services, we'll bring in the national librarian, we'll bring in the LIS forum, which is the library schools. We'll bring in all key stakeholders to come to that meeting, and then we'll then go through the structure, panel beat it, make it so. And then once we've got everybody's input and also back from the members, then we might convene a special general meeting of all members so that we can then move for the adoption. So the only thing that we need to do is to look at the interim. What happens currently is that this is an election year. Even now, we are supposed to have gone out with a call for. But now we don't want to create a structure for elections to happen when people, and because we did see last year that most people didn't want to participate because there was the mention that branches were doing away with branches, were doing away with interest group. So the enthusiasm was not there. So we don't want to come to that situation, but what we want to do, we want to make sure that at least let's have an understanding. Then we might then at that special general meeting agree on the interim measure to say how can we put them in place so that when you go to the AGM in Somerset West, we then either approve the process, and then, because as you can see, it means we need to members, the way I'm looking at it now, this is my observation. Because now currently when we register members, I register Charlie, and then I choose my interest group. So I choose Helig, and then I choose something else. But now going forward, because the constitution has to be amended first before we can then do this. So that would mean that now when I register as a member, I would register myself as a member, and then I would say I belong to higher education. Somebody, Nazim would register to say I'm Nazim Hadi, I belong to public libraries. All these sectors, because now when you conduct the elections, they will be conducted per sector to fill in those board positions. So therefore, the current database does not have our sectors. It has interest groups and branches. So now that we're moving away from that, we would look at, we should be looking at, so one of the things now I remember, one of the subcommittee that we need to look at is the subcommittee, what we can call it, regional, I'll make an example with IFLA. IFLA, if you remember last year, the previous 2 years, Ntabisen Kotsokwane was serving on the IFLA board representing the regions. So IFLA has many regions, as Asia, Africa, Europe, South America. I think it has about 5 regions. So these 5 regions elect one person to represent them on the board. So we are also looking at a structure like that, where people in a certain location, we can look at the structure going forward, a structure like that, people coming from a certain region, so that information goes down to regions, so they can still formalize themselves as regions. But the person who represents all regions is one person. And that person is the one who takes information down to regions. The regional chairs then inform the actual members on the region. The members can bring it up to the regional chair up to the regional coordinating committee at the level. And that person, so it makes sure that from grassroots, your voices comes from grassroots. Come on. Right. Comes from grassroots right up to the board level. So that is currently what is on the table currently as a draft with the attorneys. They are looking at, because now it was getting expensive if they are going to rewrite the constitution and only come back later, put in again a constitution of the board, because now they're beginning to charge us per hour. So we said, no, just do the whole constitution. This is a draft. We can go back to them, and we might not need to go back to them. If the general meeting says, okay, we agree with this, change that, we can change it. But if it requires a legal interpretation, we might go back to them and say, can you please assist us with this? Then they can charge us per hour for whatever they need to do. That is, so colleagues, just last slide, colleagues from local government, already in 2021, it has been gazetted that LIASA will be is the professional body that we membership from members of the who serve in the local government sector need to have from them for them to be able to participate. It's still a work in progress. And as LIASA, we participated in the SARGA process. We will be putting in place, but we have seen a number of municipalities, especially small municipalities, they are already making this a requirement. So colleagues, it's our responsibility as an associate, as a professional body, to make sure that we don't open up ourselves to scrutiny, because one of the key things for government is exactly that, to say, does this organization that we put money into, because some organizations are going to pay for their members to be part of a professional body, as they do for other professional bodies like Institute of Chartered Accountants and others. So with those colleagues, I would end here. I see that Sylvia managed to do it within an hour. Oh, yeah, I still have about a few minutes. So I would just end it here so that I allow more time for colleagues to engage. And with those few words, I'd like to say thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Molepo. It's always a pleasure, listening to you, simplifying what I regard as corporate jargon. Some of these things, can be very confusing for some of us, but the way that you explain it, It's really very understandable. And also it does, look like there is a lot of thought, behind whatever structure, that you have and we have in mind. That is at EXCO and REPCO level. So yeah, colleagues, I think I must say I see now your background. It's quite relevant. So happy Librarians Day 2023. So colleagues, I'm just now opening the floor for any questions that you want to ask. As I said, I will not really limit the questions to the professional body or restructuring. Mr. Mulepo is our president-elect, so you can ask any questions on any aspect or issues to do with LIASA. So are there any questions? Looks like people got confused by the corporate jargon that I was talking about. Okay, let's see, Shanita, go ahead. You can ask your question.
Good morning, Siviwe. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to our president-elect. It was a wonderful presentation. I think a lot of us have a lot of it in perspective right now. I, however, have just one question, and I was discussing it yesterday with my manager. In terms of this professional body and the government gazette and the discussions that took place with SALGA, in terms of that right now, obviously we will have to write a report to our local councils in terms of getting approval for say, those of us that have budgets that we can put in now in our business plans to say that we have X amount of librarians who are qualified and we have the funds that we are willing to pay for them to become paid up LIASA members. Would LIASA have something to that effect that could be submitted to us so that we could attach to the report that we will have to send to our council in order to get approval for the funds to be utilized for the payment of our professional body? Thank you, Chair. That is my question.
Just, sorry, just a follow-up question. Do you mean like if we, do you mean like writing a letter that or sharing the information that is on the Gazette?
I think as a letter of support coming from our association, because the information in the Gazette is already there. You know, we will obviously extract that and we'll attach it to the report. But in terms of a letter of support coming from our association that we can attach to the report that will go to full council, I think that will be excellent.
Yeah, with your permission, with your permission, Chair. Yes, I think that's something that we should do. We have not done it, but we should do. Yes, Shanita, I think please let's engage after this meeting, and yes, we will. I would definitely, from the position of President-elect, I would argue that we should do. We already do it when we ask people to serve on the EXCO or on the committees of LIASA. We do write to employer and indicate to employer what we ask them to do to support. I think this is similar. We would definitely I think we would definitely be in the position to do that.
Wonderful. Thank you, Charlie.
Okay, maybe my question now, President-elect, I think there was one aspect that I think I heard it for the first time. Maybe I've not been, listening all along. The issue of regional representatives. So how do you envisage, this would be, what form will it take? Will it be similar to what we have now, to say we have a regional rep for the Western Cape, regional rep for the Eastern Cape, etc., etc. Will it be provincial, like it is now mainly, or you foresee something a little bit different?
Yeah, it's something that came out of the discussions around the issue of regional interest, because there was that element to say there is good things that are good, you should not discard them, those things that work. The only difficulty was that in the past, even if we are in Western Cape, you are nearer to, even if you are in Northern Cape, you are nearer to Cape Town. Mm-hmm. Your membership was in the Northern Cape. You would need to attend your meetings in Northern Cape. So the regionalization, it will be the idea that was formulated was that it will be based. It will not be a geographical demarcation, but it will be based on proximity. So, but it's in the initial board. It's not something that will be in the initial board. But once the board is in place, it will then look, because now that board needs to demarcate the country and say, okay, in this area, like in the Western Cape is too wide to only have one. So it might be people in the eastern side of the Western Cape, there might be a region, and obviously because of flexibility, a person would then pick it up. Charlie, I would choose. I'm in Free State in Sasolburg. I'm therefore nearer to Gauteng than in Bloemfontein. So I would consciously pick the region where the one that I'm next to. But again, it's just for implementation. So for instance, when we run workshops, you know that if it's an in-person workshop, you know that you've got a region where you can then say that people in that region, whoever is the chair, would then coordinate. So, but that's why we are hearing about it now, probably for the first. It did come out, Mara. It was never in this detail where we're saying how do we make sure that members on the ground are able to make input. That regional thing, that's why we made that example with IFLA to say they've got such a member representing all regions, but it's regions themselves that elect that persons.
Okay. Okay. Maybe just now a quick one. In terms of the next review of our professional, the professional librarian status is. So when would be the next one? And also maybe you can share with us if there is anything in the pipeline in terms of adding more, just to share that with membership.
Yeah, thank you. The next, the professional status, professional librarian, it's ending, it's up for review 2024. That's why there was a midterm review last year, November. Okay. So 2024, November, we would be going for professional librarian status review. So, and then we, okay, now I must explain this. In the past, we had identified library assistant and library practitioner. Library practitioner, we said everyone working in the library without a library qualification, but is qualified as an ICT person, is qualified as a finance person, so is a practitioner in the library, but is not a librarian. The other one was the library assistant. These are people working in support services. be it circulation, be it processing, be it. So all those people, library assistant, right? So we put them in, and they've been rejected over and over again. And the reason why, and I think the engagement with SAQA was not clear to say why are they rejected. One day it's that it must not reflect the name of the profession, it must not reflect the name of the job title. Mm-hmm. And then the other time is something else. But now on the document that I'm going to share with Siviwe, you would see that the one of the things that they mentioned, maybe let me just project that, and then so that I can speak to that specific line. Accreditation, I'm just gonna go to, I think it's page 15, professional designation. Right. I'm not sure. Can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Maybe it's still coming.
Okay. No. So the issue is that the designation should be based on a certain pathway. Okay, let me see. Where is the screen? Where is the screen? Let me try again. Show Windows. I think this is the one. Shit. Can you see it now?
We can see it now. Yeah, thank you.
So look at E. Let me just highlight it. So as we can see E, it says for the qualification for the designation to be allocated, it needs to include an initial requirement with an underlying qualification that is registered in the NQF. However, in terms of the NQF, it's only qualifications that are in CHE, QC, meaning higher education, or FET. Those are the only two qualifications, underlying qualifications that people can register and have a designation allocated to it, right? So what happens is that what you need to understand is that the qualification needs to be a higher education qualification or an FET qualification, a TVET. That's why you would then get professional board of plumbers, electricians with underlying qualification being FET. Or accountants, lawyers, IT, all of those, their underlying qualification are university degrees. So that's where our underlying qualification, for instance, for library assistant, it was matric. Matric is umalusi. Therefore, it cannot be an underlying qualification. And even when we included library assistant, a QCTO, it's a quality assurance for trade occupation. It's called Qualification Council for Trade Occupations. Those are trade occupations. Those are qualifications that the quality control is QCTO. So library assistant is a QCTO accredited qualification. But because they were in 2008, when the Act was promulgated, there was no QCTO. QCTO was only established later around 2018 or so. So meaning that in terms of the Act, we cannot have a qualification that is not QCTO, that is from QCTO, that can be given a professional status. So that's why these were rejected. And for the library practitioner, because we did not include a specific qualification to say, this is the qualification. That's why SAQA always throw it away, because there is no underlying qualification. So the main running thread is underlying qualification. So that's why with professional librarian, it's the underlying qualification is it's the degree in library and information science or a postgraduate. So now with the library practitioner also, I think what we can do, we would need to come back and say, what kind of qualifications for people working, let's say with library ICT need to have and what, and then put them, so we can say somebody with a BSc in a B degree in information science or computer science, and a B degree in finance. So we need to have underlying qualification. Without underlying qualification, there'll be no designation.
Okay, no, I get you. Perhaps if we still had those lower diplomas, when I started to study, there were things like lower diploma in library and information. If we had, those, maybe that could have been our underlying qualification, then. Are there any questions, colleagues, from the audience, if I may?
Maybe one last thing. What we're going to do, I'm glad you raised that issue. So the people with 3-year degrees, remember now, library science now is going to be a 4-year degree. CHEQC has approved. So everyone with a 3-year qualification, and anyone with a, say, diploma, those people who did library science then and have those qualifications. In terms of the process, progression, those people would still be recognized, but we got a cutoff date. So the cutoff date, once we submit the documents to SAC, based on the documents that we submitted under review. Remember, they ask us to review our pathway, our progression pathway, and our revoking. So when we submitted, so anybody with a qualification after who like now, there are students in the pipeline who are doing a 3-year degree at UNISA. So those people, we would still recognize them. The cutoff date is that we would say, as from 2024, anybody starting library science, it should be a 4-year degree. So meaning that those that have 3-year degrees before 2024 we will still be able to afford them the status of professional librarian, because that was the qualification at the time. CHE was also accrediting it as a library science qualification. But from 2024 onwards, only 4-year degree will be accredited.
Yeah, Nara, I see you have your hand up. Go ahead. Nara, you're muted if you're talking.
Sorry,
Okay.
I had unmuted and then muted. Sorry, good morning, everybody. I just wanted to know whether for in terms of SALGA and the public librarians that would be required to be members of LIASA, would that mean that they also have to apply for the designation? How does that work? And then also to explain to members why membership doesn't automatically give you the PLSA designation.
Thank you, Nora. Yeah, currently, the requirement is just that you need to have a LIASA membership, right? You need to be a member of LIASA. LIASA would normally give you an electronic certificate. That is sufficient. So the requirement is not that you must have a designation, a specific designation. The requirement is that you should be a member of a professional body called LIASA. Then you obviously then have access to all their CPD training. So meaning that LIASA has a code of conduct, so you follow the ethics of the organization, and therefore, so in a sense, you, regardless whether you've got a designation, you conduct yourself professional. Because if you don't, in terms of the code of conduct, LIASA can strip you of your membership. Then you do not qualify. So for now, it's not a problem. But what we're looking at, Nora, we are looking at it's a pity now that Entlis, it's not coming into party, because by now we had hoped that they would have statutarized and have those designation, because with a statutory body, there is no need for an underlying qualification like SAQA does now. Because if you can look at like security, you cannot practice as security. You cannot work as a security unless you are registered with the security professional body, which is a statutory council, which does not require an underlying qualification. Anybody can go and do security training. All you need is to have a CIPRA certificate, which is what LIASA is going to issue. LIASA also will be able to issue certificate to people who have received in-service training and all of those kind of things. So in terms of the local government, all they require is LIASA membership, which is fine. I missed the second part of your question, Nora, just remind me.
I was wondering why, if that is all required, what would then be the incentive for members to then apply for the designation as well?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I now remember the others, yeah. So the second part also to that question was just to explain the difference, why to people that paying LIASA membership doesn't automatically make you a professional librarian designation, even if you meet the minimum requirement of getting the designation. You as a member, you need to apply, fill in the form and say, I want to apply to be given a status of professional librarian. It's a responsibility to apply, and then when you apply, you would submit your qualifications so that we show that you comply with the underlying qualification. Then you will submit a letter from your employer, testimonial letter to say, which reflects that you have over 2 years working experience, because that's a minimum experience for you to be able to have. So it's your responsibility, because otherwise we would make, if that was the case, we would make an assumption that you have these qualifications when you don't have. We'll make an assumption that you have the number of experience when you don't have. But in terms of governance, those documents, when SAQA does the audit, they would come and say, we see there you've got Nora Murat as You've got Nora Murad as a professional librarian. Can you see if he meets the requirement? So we should be able to pull those documents out to say, here his qualification, here is the letter from the employer that confirms that he has more than 2 years experience. So in terms of I think in terms, Nora, in terms of, so I think like eating an elephant, you must eat it piece by piece. If we can get more members registering, it will be easier to convince them to change their status from general member to PLSA. And then two, I think as members also, we need, as professional librarian ourselves, we need to be up there, up front there. Let's showcase, speak about it, and also talk to it. For instance, I sometimes at council meeting of the university, I just throw it in the middle and then say, as an accredited PLSA of South Africa, I am giving you this advice with authority. You know, I say I am the right person to talk to when coming to issue of there was an issue around the information resources and the budget, you know, the money, you know how expensive they are. So when council members look at the fine and say, really, should we be spending over 150 million every year on the same type, on the same thing, same year, subscribing? Why are we not, you know? So I would throw my weight around and say, you know, this is a trend. There is a body, for instance, this information is the same. I am able to know exactly what is happening in America on this database. So I can compare myself in South Africa to anybody elsewhere because there is a body that makes this connection. So because I'm a LIASA, because I'm a professional person here at LIASA, I'm able to check with my colleagues at IFLA, where all librarians international. So it's our responsibility. And then after the council, during lunch, then you'll have somebody coming. What's this PLSA? Then I'll explain. So even amongst our colleagues, those are the things that we need to do so that we make sure that people see the value in these things. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Molepo. Is there any other question, colleagues? I'll give them 5 seconds so that we can look at each other for 5 seconds.
Maybe in these 5 seconds, can I request colleagues, maybe if we can switch on our cameras for a few minutes, just for a group photo, those who don't have objection, so that I can keep it. Maybe I may want to share, to write, maybe CVA may want to write an article for LIASA in Touch. Then Nora, I've earned my advert for you. Yes, thank you, Danny.
I see Zandi there. Hello, Zandi.
And there are 2 screens.
Sorry, colleagues. There is a hand up from Esther.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't see it. Go ahead, Esther. I can't see your hand.
No. I was enjoying the sharing of the pics, so I could have waited. Bronwyn, thank you, Charlie, for the presentation. Well presented and very detailed. I appreciate it. Just a comment from my side, and I think I've made this comment a couple of years ago at one of our branch meetings in Kales River, and I think that was before COVID. I'm sort of very happy that we've not been able to register any other designations other than a professional librarian, because from the beginning, I was very worried of us trying to be too populist and wanting to, I feel in the process, devaluing our profession. Because I hear now, you know, I understand there are people that have worked in libraries many years, and there was this move to get the library assistant designation or some kind of professional status around that. And at the time I said, and I still feel, that if you work for many years in a hospital, that does not make you a professional nurse. It doesn't make you a medical practitioner. And I'm just wanting to understand what you're saying around people, you know, in finance, working in libraries, or in IT, working in libraries, etc. I want to understand what is it that LIASA is hoping or wanting to do, because my understanding would be that they would have their own professional bodies and they need to go and register there. So maybe just clarity. Maybe I didn't understand. Thanks so much.
Thank you. I'm glad you raised that, Esther. It's correct. However, I would still speak on the library assistant. So let me separate the two. The library assistant one end. Remember, even with SAQA document, it says there should be a progression. Even with professional librarian, we're not going to end with professional librarian. We might have another designation later of senior professional librarian. So as people expect, as people gain a certain expertise, we need to recognize if one is renowned internationally on cataloging standard, there should be a designation that identifies that person. So if I can quickly show, if I can speak to, just show you quickly on that same, where SAQA says that we need to clearly show how people progress from one designation to the next. I'll just quickly, if I can find it. So yes, I concur with you. I also was not in favor of trying to get a designation for people doing IT because they got their own professional body of IT. All we require from them, we can make it a requirement to say, for you to work in the library, you need to be recognized by a body, by the professional body of IT practitioners. And the same with finance. So in terms of the
Is it not in C, Mr. Mlepo? Can you go down? Is it down or up? Yeah, I always get, I think it's in C. Yeah.
Yeah, no, there's the one where it talks about no, I think it's on the criteria for the registration of the professional body. Let me just quickly go through to it, because that one speaks to what Esther is asking about. Just a moment. So there, in terms of recognition of professional bodies, recognition criteria. Okay, come on. Okay. I was hoping the hand can take me to 11, right? Let me just scroll down to 11. So. Eight. 10, 11, right. It's just here. I think I must have missed it. So in terms of this, yeah, no, I'll try and find it, but you can check. So what it says, Esther, is that as a body, we should be the criteria should be clear to say who do we underlie. You see this one, there is one that we should speak on the, how are we going to use RPL to award designation for members who do not have the required underlying qualification. To see the point 2. So there will be those people that you are talking about, but they need to satisfy in terms of the recognition of prior learning. So anybody can tell, anybody who try to go through RPL to get an accreditation of a qualification can tell you it's even better to just study and get a qualification rather than to try and do it via, because it's more difficult, you know, compiling that portfolio of evidence, because now you also still need to go back and study in relation to that. So it's a pity now I can't find this because I'm rushing. So in terms of their requirements, SAQA, they want to see this progression. We need to show how does one person progress from here to the next designation. So like I'm saying now, currently we've got one, which is professional librarian within the library. So we might have another one. If somebody gets a PhD and is an expert in the field, there might be a different designation for those people, or who occupy a particular position and therefore has certain skills and expertise. The person can then apply and then we would look at them. So yes for that. But in terms of the library assistant, what I'm looking at, like you were saying, let's use the same example of a hospital, right? In a hospital, because it's a statutory, like we're saying to enlist, a person comes with a matric, they teach him how to provide basic care of the, how to make bed, how to change a person, how to wash a patient. And then they register that person as an auxiliary nurse, which is one heading we're looking at. If shouldn't, instead of saying library assistant, because SAQA was saying it reflects the job profile. Why can't we use auxiliary librarian? You know, so meaning this person doesn't have the qualification, but he assists librarians to do their work. He's doing, and the person has the skill because he knows how to handle the book, not to break the spine. He knows how to put in a date stamp. He knows how to put in the, so there are certain things that he has to learn for him to be able to process a library item. So you can give them the status, but we can't give them a professional status because that one requires an underlying qualification. That's why I was mentioning at least at the end of the day. So that is the rationale in terms of that. So, but now when we've got the board, Esther, the professional body subcommittee is the one that is gonna sit down with the members. The members would then inform them that we are feeling left behind, and then they would look at that. And then they would say, look, the only compromise we can have is that you need to do these courses over a period of time, and then you do your workplace learning, and then you get evaluated based on that. But also that it will go within the paradigm of the RPM. That is the only criteria that allows anybody who does not have an underlying qualification to be included. So yes, I agree with you. That has been also my sentiment. But for library assistant, it's different. I think, yes, we still need to, because some of them, that's the work they're gonna do. They don't want to become professional librarians themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Molepo. So I'm not sure if now the picture or print screen, I'm not sure what gets to be taken, if that has been done already.
It seems other people don't have access to the camera. because they're just few and far in between.
Yeah, okay, maybe let's still do it. But then thereafter, we'll just hand over to Bronwyn to do a vote of thanks and a closure. Sorry, you were saying something?
No, I was saying it's fine. Even the names, I think Nora would still be happy with the names.
Nora, are you taking it?
No, it's
who's
not
doing
happy,
it, colleagues,
not
please?
happy with the names. Yes. Okay.
Apelile will do it.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Apelele.
Yeah. I mean, taking Lebu Apelele. Apelele is taking it, and I might be taking it for my also report. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you very much for engagement.
Okay, are we done, Apelele?
Yes, we are done, but I don't see people opening their cameras.
I see a list, just at least myself, Nora, Bronwyn, Esther, of course, the guest speaker, and Michelle. I don't see the others.
Yeah, but I took some, yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see Zandi as well. Shanitha, Sitembile, Ingrid, quite a number of people. Dani as well. Hello, Dani.
Good morning.
Okay. So when you are done, you tell us, please.
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Done? Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes.
Yeah, Bronwyn colleagues will do the vote of thanks and closure. Thank you.
Sorry,
thank you so much.
Bronwyn, I
sorry?
am so sorry to come in again with another comment question. I was sorry. Charlie, something else that I wanted to just raise. Apologies. I thought we'll do the video and then I'll ask the other question. When you shared, and I look at the other professional bodies, and they are quite large in terms of the bureaucratic structures that they have. But I'm a bit concerned about LIASA. Our membership is so low, and when you share in terms of these structures that we are required to have, I am just wondering about, how are we going to do it to make sure that they work efficiently and effectively? So maybe just something that I'm grappling with. Maybe you are looking at it. Yeah, just a comment in terms of that. It just looks like there's just such a top-heavy structure, and yeah, so many people that need to be involved. Thank you.
Fortunately, it's not. Thank you, just Esther. It's not. It's actually quite flat. It's just that it's because most of the structure, the board would meet probably 4 times a year. The other committees, the CPD, we currently do have it like the excuse responsible. We've got what we call now an academy management committee. It's looking at that. So you find like the professional body committee, it might meet twice a year because their role is to make sure that we comply. So if there are new regulation passed like now, that's why we're able to meet. So some of these structures are already there. And then in terms of the requirement, in terms of King 4, that's why instead of having HR committee, finance committee, audit and risk, you only have one that does all those 3. So all the others are simply the normal LIASA structure, because the nomination one also only meets when there are nominations. So it's not. It's actually one of the most small flat structure. And then it will grow as the organization grows. That's why I didn't dwell deep on the regions and of the community of practice, because when the organization grows, there might be a need to have those community of practice. It's only then that you'll establish them. So it's quite lean. It's quite lean, and it's not So for you to reach the board, you only need only one subcommittee, and then you are at the board. That's how lean it is.
Mhm. Yeah, and also just to add, President-elect to say, Esther would remember that this is a structure for discussion. It's only the AGM, that can approve this, or even, disapprove of it. In which case we'll go back to the old structure. So basically, there would be that opportunity, for members to engage on this. Actually, I also got a question I had forgotten now, to say, can people attend AGM if they are not attending the annual, conference? And my answer was yes, but maybe you can confirm it, President-elect, because I think those are two separate things. You can still go and attend the AGM, especially if you are around Cape Town, even if you have not really attended the conference. That's my understanding of it.
Actually, even more, because it's
Mhm.
going to be hybrid. So you can even attend virtually.
Okay. No, thank you so much. Bronwyn, unless there are still any other burning questions, colleagues. Otherwise, we'll hand over to Bronwyn to do the vote of thanks. Okay, nothing. Go ahead, Bronwyn.
Thank you, Saviwe, and thank you very much, colleagues, for the wonderful participation in the session this morning. It really is much appreciated. Allow me to say hello, President-elect Charlie. Thank you very much for taking the time out to join us this morning and for the very informative session that you conducted with us. It is really appreciated. It is so wonderful to see the interaction with the membership. So huge thank you from our side in the Western Cape to you, President-elect. We wish you well on your journey further, and we know there's lots of work to do, but I'm sure together we'll get through it. So thank you again, President-elect. Then allow me to please say thank you to my colleagues, in particular the colleagues in the national office, for arranging this platform. It is absolutely wonderful that we are able to meet in this manner. So thank you for arranging it and making sure that the logistics and everything works. It is appreciated. Thank you very much for the presentation as well, and that everything went well and according to the plan. And then I also want to say thank you to Nora and in particular Dr. Saviwe. Thank you very much for making sure that today is a success and that everything got organized and planned, and communication back and forth with the national office, communication via WhatsApp as well. A huge thank you to especially the two of you who assisted to make this session a success, which I can gladly share was a very good success. And of course, I'm sure the members who attended today will agree with me that the discussion was very informative. I think it answered a number of questions that people had. So it really, really was a very good and informative and very interesting session today. If I've left out anybody else, last but not least, I really want to say thank you to all of the members who joined us today, who took the time out to register. I'm feeling honored. The Minister of Finance is here, Dani. Thank you very much. It is really appreciated that people have taken the time out to join us in the session. And we thank you for all the questions and the participations. With that said, I hope I haven't left out anyone. But again, thank you, everybody. And with that, I wish you all a beautiful day further, and keep warm, stay safe, and continue supporting LIASA. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.